we are ready to get started, and, I kind of put this, I'm expecting you guys to be in on all of this.
For sure.
So let's kind of get started. Can we hit present this real quick, just so we get a little bit more screen space? All right. Insert basic Gamma and ChatGPT intro to a follow-up class, right? Welcome to this workshop designed for real estate professionals who want to master the art and science of follow-up. Over the next few hours, hour 45, will transform your approach to client engagement through proven psychological principles, practical techniques, and technology implementation. Walk away with a fully operational follow-up system built directly into Command, giving you both the tools, confidence to execute high-level engagement. Blah 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 blah. Okay. Let's hope my little favorites. Maybe I should turn it on first. Okay. Oh, there we go. Perfect. All right. So again, we just kind of talked about this, but one, I want to go through the theory of follow-up. We want to start going through what actually happens after that, the implementation of role play, kind of some of the expected outcomes and things like that. I think we just kind of talked a little bit about that, but theory and practice, the way I would sum that up. All right. So, and Chris and Caroline, feel free to jump in on any of this, like wherever you want to have a conversation, right? So this was kind of what we were doing too, right? We have the tech component of it, right? Follow-up is your doctor follows up with you, right? So their piece of technology could be a calendar that the woman or the man who is working at the front desk has on their computer. That's their piece of technology that they're utilizing for it. They can store a bunch of information that they don't have to store in their brain. At the end of the day, in my opinion, follow-up is just that. It's just, where do I get to transcribe the things that I know I need to do to move a conversation, to move a relationship, or to move a buyer and seller closer towards a buying position in a structured way that gets them there effectively and keeps me in the limelight of them doing it. That's really all it is. It could be 2 touches, it could be 2,000 touches. Really, I mean, it's anywhere in between. I mean, where do you start to fall on some of this stuff?
So with technology, the first question I have for you is, have you actually sat down and said, what do I use? What am I going to use to stay in contact with my clients, right? Is it email? Is it your phone? Is it your CRM, right? Is it an external program, Constant Contact, MailChimp, BombBomb, whatever it may be that you're using? Have you set that up? Have you thought about it, right? Today, we're going to talk about how to use the things that you already have access to, i.e. is email, text messages in Command, right? But moving forward, there are other products out there that, if you're interested, let me know. Come to my tech meeting, which every month. Let me know if it's a piece of technology you're interested in learning about, and I'd be happy to put a class on for that. But cheap plug-in. But
well, and I was going to say, while we continue, I actually want to discuss putting on some here. Do you want to start?
Yeah, sure.
Rattling off a bunch of the ones that you can think about.
All right. So the first one is obviously your basics, right? Phone, email, CRM.
Mm-hmm.
How many people in here use Command? Do we all use Command here? Do
Yes.
you use
Lofty.
Lofty? Okay.
Yeah.
So Command. You have Constant Contact. Contact.
I made sure to grab the squeakiest marker right now.
It's great. I feel like an old teacher, right? Like, yeah, sure. What other things have you guys heard or seen that you use? Mailers, okay.
Yeah.
But is that?
I would say. How you doing?
Okay. Mailers are.
Mailers inside of Command, yeah.
We'll call it campaigns. How about that?
Yeah. How about like well, I guess if we're sticking on the follow-up side of things, I would say BombBomb or Dub. They're very similar programming.
Okay.
It's video recording that you can then send out en masse.
Okay.
How?
Get a little more. Let's get a little more granular.
So, are we talking about follow-up specifically?
Yeah.
Okay, so like HomeBot.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. What you got, Max?
I was gonna say, I don't actually know what it's called, which is not super helpful, but there's some service or software where you can text everybody on your phone and it shows up blue. It's not like automatic, like it's your number.
So you have
No, because
that's
it's
through another-
individual.
So you can use actually Google, you can use your Apple shortcuts. If you have an iPhone, you can build an Apple shortcut to do that. Now you just have to hit send, but it'll auto go through a group of contacts, automatically bring up a text, put their name in. You can use merge fields for the first name and then put a standard piece of text, and it'll allow you to send it from your phone. That's how I actually set up the entire office on one of these. And then when I first joined, I sent everybody a big text message about like classes and stuff like that. That's how I built it. I have a video on my YouTube channel. It's 15 minutes. It'll show you how to use that. Totally.
What is that called?
If you go to
your.
I think it's called mass texting.
No, what's the,
Apple Shortcuts. Shortcuts is an app where you can build algorithms on your phone for using multiple apps and multiple things at once. It's a little technical, but follow it step by step. I would also put on here the MLS. Yeah, for property alerts. I mean, that's one of your best follow-ups that you're going to use with
I
buyers.
think we're missing out on big guys.
Mm.
Yeah. We use it every single day. Every day. I guarantee it. When I tell you, you're gonna go,
Our car.
incorrect.
Oh.
I was thinking like that was like.
They're like for a lot.
My-
Me and the car have a very intimate relationship.
Social media.
Social.
Social media. How many times do you use Messenger to reach out to your friend?
Yeah.
How many times do you drop a DM or PM or whatever you call it these
Yeah.
days? Right? How many, you've got Instagram, you've got TikTok,
Facebook and
Facebook, all those opportunities are great places for follow-up,
Yeah,
right? Somebody
yeah,
posts something up, you say, hey, we talked about this the other day, right? So, talk about socials.
If you aren't time blocking time in your schedule to just surf social media to follow
Yeah,
it up,
yeah.
you're gonna spend
So,
I would say market reports.
Yeah.
Now, market reports, I guess you could run those through Lofty. I know has a market report option.
are you talking about market reports as in like home sales market?
I would say like a biweekly neighborhood nurture in command satisfies that. And then, and again, we're getting like a granular inside of these, but just
We're
gonna say it right in.
Talk about smart plans, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's why I don't write on the board. I always feel like I'm gonna spell something wrong.
Yeah, newsletters, newsletters, I guess you could use almost, that would be like somewhat campaigns. It would be like a digital campaign.
So, I mean, you just said, is that kind of what you meant?
No, so a market report for me is so when we have two traditional, what do buyers want and what do sellers want, right? Buyers at the end of the day want to see properties that are potentially for sale, right? In the nuts and bolts, like that's what they come to us for. Sellers, on the other hand, potential future sellers want to know, what is the value of my home going to be worth? They want relevant market information that's going to affect the sale of the potential sale of their home, right? So they want to know, is the days on market going up or down, right? Is the Zestimate on my home going up or down, right? Are there things happening that would affect the price of my home?
So the bi-weekly neighborhood nurtures or the monthly neighborhood nurtures are a great smart plan for that. There's also HomeBot list reports.
Yeah.
I would tell you that if you have a lender that you like to use, talk to them about what they're using.
Yeah.
I know that I'm partnered on both of these with two different lenders, setting to different clients. But it's great that you can just click on it and it'll say, hey, my home's worth X, Y. Like the home we just bought 2 years ago is up $100,000 from where we bought it.
Yeah.
Super great. I'm happy about it, but I get to see it every month from
Yeah.
one of these two services.
All right, so last couple here on technology, and then I want to actually like draw a line down, and I want to talk about the scripts and role play version of this. So, on any other tech tools that we think of that we would use for this? I think this is a pretty solid starting list. I think, like, for example, HomeBot list reports are two examples of companies that you can sign up for to do market reports. There are multiple other companies that would do something similar, right? BombBomb, Dub, there's a bunch of other videoing type services that you could use for those. Obviously CRMs, there's too many. Constant Contact, Contactually is another one that does similar things that way. All right, we ready to jump to the second side then? I think so. So what I'm hoping we can come up with, just like we did on the technology side of things, on this side, I'm thinking for the scripts and role play, we know that there are certain times where we engage with a customer, right? Think of like Remember back in the day, you watched those little sing-along shows and they had the words at the bottom and the little Mickey Mouse ears jumped on top of each of the little words, right? Okay, was I the only one in that millennial generation?
No, I.
Okay, okay. So
Yeah.
I just want you to think about the shape that that makes, right? There's a word that gets said, it kind of jumps between one, then it hits on another word. Jumps and then it hits on another word. And what the metaphor here is, there's times where I engage with my client, then I do work, or there's time that goes in the background where we're not client facing, but then we re-engage again, and then we re-engage again, and then we re-engage again. And so what I want to think about is, let's maybe do like a buyer versus a seller, right? But when are the times that you engage with a client, and what are you hoping to accomplish in that conversation? Every conversation that I have with somebody should be helping them rediscover, understand, learn about something that's going to overcome a gap that they have right now. If someone says, I need time to think about this, well, what they're really saying is, I don't feel like I have all the information today to make an educated decision, and I'm hoping that time will give me the information. When really it's consistent communication around that gap that's going to close their buying ability or their selling ability. So I want to think about, like, let's stay on buyers for a second, right? That might be one of the easier ones for most of us. And obviously lead source is important here. But the first time that we engage with a buyer, what are we trying to accomplish on that first conversation with a buyer? Let's say regardless of lead source. Rapport, I agree with that. We can write some of these down. So we're trying to accomplish rapport, we're trying to accomplish trust. PPOT, yes. Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about online leads for a second, right? You get an online lead that has an inquiry on a property, right? Do you remember the 6 letters that we talked about?
LP mom.
LP Mama, right? And what is LP Mama? LP Mama is just a series of 5 questions that we want to ask to get a basic understanding of their search, their motivation, if they're working with somebody, if they're pre-approved, and then push them to what? What's the final A in LP Mama stand for? Appointment. Right? That's the goal. All communication bottlenecks at the appointment. I don't care what tool you use. I don't care what lead sources you use. Everything that we're trying to do is take somebody who doesn't know us, or we're not in a real estate conversation, to get to a real estate conversation over the phone or through one of these methods, and then move them to an opportunity where we can present ourselves and how to work with us and what that plan would look like. Your buyer presentation can be whatever you want, right? There's multiple different ways to do it, multiple things you can do in there, but the goal is calls to contacts to appointments set to appointments held to buyer agency agreements signed, right? To under contract to close. That is our pipeline at the end of the day. So the goal of any rapport building, the goal of any follow-up is because we haven't gotten necessarily to the appointment stage yet. Now there's follow-up obviously after the appointment step. It's 6 months before we're going to be ready to buy, not a problem. But let's talk from we don't know each other to the appointment. So we want to go through rapport, we want to go through trust building, we want to use things like LP Mama to go through that. So that's going to be a script and role play. But let's say we make that first phone call to them and they don't answer. What does maybe like a second, a third, a fourth touch start to look like?
Text message, voicemail.
Yep. So
Email.
So not all of our scripts have to be spoken, right? A lot of our scripts and role play are also the digital format of our communication. So that's important. Sorry, you're right here.
Do you want me to put LP mama on her?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
That will save you in any conversation. If you are ever in a conversation with a client and you're listening to them, but you're like, I have no idea what I'm going to say next.
Does everybody know what it stands for?
Okay. All right. So the 5 questions you want to ask any lead when you're on a phone call. Sometimes these are the only 5 questions you need. One is, hey, John, I saw that you were looking at a property here in Middletown, Delaware, 123 Main Street. Is that the only location that you're looking in, or are you open to some of the surrounding areas as well? Oh, just Middletown because your kids are in the school district. Fantastic. Awesome. Well, I saw that home, John, was also listed at $350,000. Is that at the top of your price range, the bottom of your price range? Is that kind of the sweet spot? Oh, okay. So you've been kind of looking on Zillow and you saw some 350 homes. By the way, just real quick, that 350. So you haven't spoken to a mortgage Lender, yeah, you haven't gotten approved, and totally okay if you haven't, I just wanna ask for clarification. Okay, no, you haven't spoken to a lender yet, so you're just kinda guessing, okay, got it, you're using some calculators online, you're kinda thinking that's about where your monthly payment's gonna be, no problem, all right. So let me ask you a question. Now, have you gone out and seen any properties individually, one-on-one throughout the week, or are you just kinda doing the online, the open house thing? What I'm trying to drive at is, are you currently working with a real estate agent, right? And I like to ask, sometimes, are you working with an agent? Well, what is the client thinking? If I say no, are they gonna start being real salesy with me?
Or they don't realize that they might have signed a buyer agency agreement, they don't know what it means.
Correct.
I like to use the, Connor, how did you find out about this house? Who pointed you in this direction? Were you just searching
Yeah.
online?
Yeah, it's a great.
Or, because at that point, you're circling around that drain, but they're hitting the different spots that they're thinking, oh yeah, my agent told
Yeah,
me.
yeah, circling the drain, I love that metaphor, circling the drain. That is a great way to get answers to questions where it doesn't look like you're fishing for your own answer right after that question gets answered, right? People don't want to feel trapped like, oh shoot, if I answer this way, I know exactly what's coming next. So find different ways in your scripts to circle the drain, I love that.
Right. Price is a huge one that I've both of you guys used to. That way you know if they've been pre-approved or not, instead of saying have pre-approved, some people are like, no idea what that means.
Right.
I usually say something along the lines of, how did you come to this price point? Is it something that you personally are comfortable with, or has a professional told you that this works for you?
Got it.
That way it's not as heavy.
Yep.
A lot of my scripts aren't heavy, it's just emotional and trust building. I'm not like the person that's something.
And don't get me wrong, your style may be different than our style, right? You're here. That's why I wanted us to teach this as a trio, is because you're going to hear like we all get to the same conclusion in a different way, right? It's like, we're all trying to cook a nice steak dinner. It's like we all kind of want the same thing, but we have to take new and exciting ways to get there, sort of thing. Like, all right, the last M though is, John, just real quick, why are we looking at homes today? I know this probably didn't come about last night while you were sleeping. So what's the motivation here? Why now? Why are we looking at homes now? Well, kids going to be graduating here in June, and like that, we're looking to downsize, or hey, we've been renting and our lease is coming up, or I've been living with my parents and I hate that. Whatever it is, we've heard all of those. Yeah. So, all right, John, so here's the deal. So here's what the next steps are in the process, just so you know. We're going to set up an opportunity, a buyer strategy session for us to sit down, and we're going to go through both three primary things, right? There's a couple others, but three primary things. We want to go over the home buying process, right? I want to make sure, even if it's been a while, even if you've purchased before, things are a little bit different. We had the buyer agency thing that just happened last year, so we're going to go over the home buying process. I'm going to let you know the major milestones that we need to hit, and I'm going to let you know about when money's coming out of your account. 2, we're going to build your search together. We're going to really dive into the search and what you're looking for so that I can send you properties direct from the MLS, give you the raw data, right? You've been on marketing websites, and that's great when you're just kind of looky-looey. I need you on the raw. And lastly, we are going to talk a little bit about financing. We're going to just talk about what are the expected costs that you should have, what it means to talk to a mortgage lender, when you should do that in the process, and just how this whole thing works. Okay? So is that better for you, Wednesday or Friday? So you're using these 5 questions as a setup. Now, I didn't say, do you want to have a buyer strategy session? I don't ask them permission for the buyer strategy session.
I almost promise you they're gonna say no. No one
They
wants to
always
meet in an office. They want immediate gratification of setting the appointment of touring a house.
Yeah.
But if you jump steps, you're gonna create stress with your buyer ultimately because they're undereducated from the very beginning.
Yeah,
and you go right into it.
Can I slide in on the seller side, right?
Yeah.
So if you kind of look at LP Mama, it's still relevant to your seller.
Yeah,
well,
agreed.
right? Because now instead of location where you're going to buy, now we're going to talk about where we're going to sell, right? So in your neighborhood, homes are selling for this price point, right? So a mortgage would be this. What if we talk about this? Agent, obviously you're the agent. Motivation, why do you want to sell, right? So it is that same LP Mama is still relevant to your seller as well. The words just change a little bit.
Yeah.
Sorry if this is getting super confusing. Hopefully that's all worded.
Okay. So, all right, so let's kind of keep rolling then through this like presentation portion of it, right? I think we're starting to understand there's 2 different parts to follow, right? We're getting that I need to have a technology stack. I need to understand how that flows. Sometimes the best thing, go to the store, go get yourself a big whiteboard, or if you want to use a program, what was the program you used?
Miro.
Miro is a good one to do it digitally. But really, what you want to do is just saying, like, from the moment somebody comes in my world, draw the little stick figure of a person. The first time they meet me, how do we normally engage? Draw your cell phone, right? Or draw an email. Say, these are the technology tools that I'll generally have a first contact with. Then I move them to step 2 through 10 or whatever. What program is used and what message is said for each, right? And you want to have a theoretical idea of that. Then second half of this class is going to be, now let's go build that thing. Now let's go take this abstract thought and actually build it into a piece of technology that's going to run regularly. All right, so let's keep rolling here. So these were just some stats that I saw. So again, 90% of people give up too soon. 80% of the people that you end up getting in contact with, they'll say yes eventually. Eventually, right? It might not be on, people don't move on your time frame. I'm sorry to, is this news to anybody, right? They move on theirs. 5 times contact minimum. I think we could all have a little bit of a, maybe it's more than that or something like that. But in general, like you need to be in front of them at least 5 times, right? When my doctor's office sends me follow-up notices about my visit, I don't react to them almost ever. Does that mean they should stop sending them to me? No, I still need that service. I'm just not, I know that it's just a basic follow-up message to keep me engaged. I'll respond when I'm ready. We have to do the same thing. Stop having your ego hurt because somebody that you talked to one time or didn't talk to yet hasn't answered you. Go ahead.
So, I want to ask each one of you a question real fast. What is your favorite clothing brand? You just rattle off, quick. First name that pops in your head.
Target.
Patagonia.
Patagonia, Target, Nike,
Tory Burch.
Tory Burch. Okay, so every time you go in their store, every time you go into their store and you buy something, they say, hey, you want to sign up for our club? You want to sign up for our rewards program, right? We'll send you whatever discounts. When you open your email the next day, you've got like 3 emails from them, right? And you open it up the next day, and you've got 2 emails from them. And you open them up next week, and you've got 2 more emails from them, right? How many thousands of times are they sending you emails on their products? And do you go, yeah, screw this. These guys suck. You don't. You just bypass that email, right? But that little hand grenade is being implanted in the back of your brain. And one day, you're walking around and you're like, man, I'm cold. I need to go get a sweater. Boom! It explodes. Hey, there was a 15% off code in my email for Patagonia, or Target, or Nike, or Tory Burch, right? You needed a new purse. Your purse wasn't big enough, right? Yeah, I need to hold my car, my kids, my lunch, my purse. It's cool, right? Right? So what I'm trying to say though is this 5 times is the minimum, right? Don't be afraid to send 1,000 emails, because it could be that 1,001st email that triggers that little grenade goes off and says, oh yeah, I need to buy a house. Oh, yeah.
What are the 2 ways that you should stop following up with somebody? What are the 2 ways? There's only 2. One is they unsubscribe, where they literally ask you to please stop contacting me. Be respectful. If they legitimately ask you to please stop contacting them, I think obviously we would say yes. What is the only other reason why you should stop contacting somebody? Correct.
Sorry.
Those are the 2 answers. Those are the 2 answers. That's it, right? These are adults. They have the opportunity to unsubscribe and say no. If they don't, it means that I'm interested, but I'm just not ready to engage with you right now. That's it. It's not that they think you're annoying. It's that they're not ready to engage with that buying service right now. That's all it is. We need to all drop our egos a little bit and just recognize they're people, they have busy lives. They'll get to us when they have time, when they remember, when they're ready.
I can validate this as a matter of fact. So yesterday, normal day, busy, getting ready to sell my house. I get 3 calls from clients that I had set up 3 years ago that I initially talked to nothing, right? From a garbage lead source, obviously not so garbage, but at the time they were very, 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 very weak leads. But 3 years later, they're calling me like, hey, I know we haven't talked, but you sent me this newsletter, you sent me these things, and now I'm interested in looking at buying a house. So don't get rid of those people that don't reach out to you. Just keep doing what you're doing. I promise it pays off.
They can remove themselves if they need
Yeah.
it.
And I think to continue about your metaphor for like the Tory Burch or the brand that keeps emailing you. If you sign up and they email you, let's say 5 times in the first week, you're probably not gonna remember that. But once you keep opening your email, let's say, worst case scenario, months, years, and you're used to that one store that keeps giving you like the random coupons that you only went to once because it's at the beach or whatever. But then the next time you go, you're like, wait a second, I remember seeing these emails constantly. But if they stopped in the first week, you wouldn't have remembered those 5 emails.
Correct. So here's another, so let's come to kind of the conversations themselves. Please, no, of course.
So most of the time I either text my clients or send an email, but there's no option to unsubscribe. So how would I know that?
Are you using command?
Not yet.
Okay.
But
So you're just reading emails.
Yeah,
Yes.
just sending a Gmail.
They'll tell you.
Yeah.
They'll tell you.
Okay.
Another big one that I think we all have to get aware of in today's day and age is you should be asking your clients, what is your preferred method of communication? Right? Like, how many times have we had somebody, we had a fantastic conversation, and then I start following up via text because I'm like, I don't need to hop on a whole other call with you, and it's like crickets. Like, we had such a really good conversation. I followed up with them like 3 or 4 times through text. I haven't got a single text back. We all know those people in our world that like throw their phone across the room unless there's a phone call, right? So
Yeah.
you should be asking, what is your preferred method of communication? You have the ability to cater your communication to that person very easily. Just figure that out part. But with this, begin each follow-up call with a clear purpose and end goal, right? Know exactly what information you need to gather and what next steps you want to establish. Having a mental roadmap keeps conversations focused and productive. I am always, before I hop on a phone call, writing down like the 1, 2, 3 things that I want to accomplish on this call. Like I don't come on with an open-ended, like, let's just see how it goes. That's when you're terrified because you're like, I have to prepare for every potential possible outcome, and you get that paralysis analysis for dialing. Coming in, I have 1 or 2 main things that I want to accomplish here. I have an information exchange that I don't believe that person has, and I want a call to action of how I want our next interaction to go and when that should be. Right? Be prepared.
This is the most important part of
Yeah.
any follow-up that you do, right? Because we can text people all day long, we can email them, and those emails are either canned or, we're using some tech to help us build those emails, and that information is probably a graphic that we're sending that we've researched, right? So we've already kind of prepped that to go out. When you're having that conversation, your street cred or I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, right? But you're on the line. You're putting yourself out there on the line. So you need to be prepared to have the conversation, because if you're not prepared before you step into the ring, you're being tested. They're listening to everything you're saying. Our buyers and our sellers today are smarter than they've ever been.
Yep.
Right? So what he's talking about right now is probably the most important step that you're going to accomplish anytime you get into this.
And just remember, it's not about what you say, it's about what they hear. Communication, just because it left your lips, doesn't mean that the other person understood everything that you said. If anybody here is married, you will know this. Okay? Right? Like, but seriously, we say things all the time, and we're like, yep, they got it. They turn around and they're like, I don't remember half of what he said, and I don't really, is he asking this? And I'm like, oh, no, I have to clarify. The preparation also makes you very articulate about, like, here is the way I want this phraseology to go, here is what I want them to hear, and then it's okay to ask, hey, do you understand what I'm asking? Is there any questions about what I just said? I stop all the time in my
Yeah.
buyer presentations
I
to
do it a
reaffirm.
lot.
Yes.
Even spitting the words back at them. Like if they're saying, well, I don't know if it's the best time for me to move because my kids are in school right now. Okay, so it sounds to me that looking for houses after June would make the most sense. Is that right? Because for them, they might be like, no, I meant like when my kids move out after college.
Right.
Like there could be 2 different ways that they're conveying that. So, and I wouldn't say like spit back exactly what they're saying. Pretend like you're listening.
It's the, hey, if I'm hearing you right, it sounds like what you're saying is this. Like almost, I don't have to say the entire phrase that they said, but if I can try and re-summarize it back to them and get affirmation, then we're moving forward. A bad buyer presentation, a bad listing presentation is when you just talk all the time You never stop to hear if they had anything. And by the end of it, they're like, dude, you lost me after the first 10 minutes because you went in an entirely different direction based on what you said. And you never asked me if that was wrong, but you were like so ramming all this
Yeah.
information down me. I didn't have a chance. So I just kind of like tuned out at a certain point. You can lose somebody that way.
So what I like to do in that case is just like a presentation, just like what we're doing today, we have this kind of broke out into sections. So my conversations are broke out into sections, and my favorite phrase at the end of that section is, hey Connor, do you have any questions or concerns at this point? You know, is there anything that I need to go back on that I need to clear up for you?
Yeah.
And I say that after every single section, or if it got deep, it got like, you know, into the numbers, into the weeds. Hey, do you have any questions and concerns? Is there anything that I can address before we move on to the next thing?
Yeah.
And I find that works really well for me.
I feel like we guys get that, right? Like reaffirm as you go through the conversation, please. Develop response maps, creating branching scripts that address common objections like I'm not ready yet or I'm working with another agent. These prepared responses help you navigate difficult conversations with confidence and professionalism. Thank you, ChatGPT, for making that so eloquent. So, but true, right? Like this is why objection handling, this is why script practice and role play is a thing. Because I don't want to be able to just say like, hey, this is what I think your home is worth. They're like, well, what if this happens? You're like, oh, no, sorry, I only had the first answer. My bad.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
just for you.
You don't need every objection, but I do think it's important that based on the 1 to 2 to 3 things that you're going to say, come up with 1 to 2 to 3 of what you think the most common objections might be. And if you don't know, you have the internet and ChatGPT to play that scenario out before you even have it. And ask ChatGPT to help you with some of the answers if you don't have that rattling off the top of your head. It's okay to make the phone call with that prompt and with that screen right in front of you. Don't read, like, hold on one second, I gotta read what I have on my page here.
Let me turn it back over.
Yeah, right. But you should know, hey, that's a great question. Here's some of the ways that I'd like to talk about that. Here's some of the ways that we like to overcome that, right? Here, and give your basic examples, right? You can take, you know, if somebody can give you 20 objections, what it really is different ways to phrase like 5 objections, right? There's 20 different ways it can be said, but a lot of times it's coming to like these core fundamental ones. And you'll start over time just to realize that most people ask the same handful of questions. It's only actually rarely that you start getting these ones that are totally out of bounds. And then what do we say when you get an objection that you don't know the answer to right off the cuff? What do we say?
Great question, I'll be back.
We'll get back to you.
Perfect. It's a great question.
Yeah, please don't be afraid of that.
We use it all the time, right? We all use it every day with clients.
Absolutely. But what I will tell you is when you honestly don't know and you try to bullshit it, they're going to smell that from a mile away, and that's going to deflect all those attaboys that you just got. They just went in the garbage, right? So if you don't know, don't be afraid to say, hey, Connor, I'm sorry, man, I'm not sure at the moment, but if you give me 15 minutes or if you give me till tomorrow, I can get that information for you and I'll send it to you in an email.
That is the thing that every experienced agent knows is true and every new agent fears to do.
Yeah.
Almost all the time. Because we think we have to know everything out of the gate or else that client shouldn't work with us. That's not the point. You're not here to be a dictionary. You're here to be a Google search bar. You don't need every answer in knowledge, but you do need to be able to find that answer quickly and then present it in a way that's understandable and digestible. That's your job. That's what it is. It's finder and presenter, not know-it-all. Okay?
And this is where like the phrase that people use constantly is jack of all trades, but people don't finish the phrase. The phrase is jack of all trades, but master of none. That's the full thing. Like you know a little bit about a lot. That's what our job is as realtors, is to be problem solvers for a lot of different issues. Like I'm not gonna say that I know everything about a septic system, because I don't. But I know someone that does.
Right. You know when you need to hire a proper septic
Yeah.
inspector. You know when you need to do the cleanup. You know what. Okay. All right, last one, apply the reciprocity rule. Provide genuine value in every interaction. I don't have to go through the rest of it. If you're just, and this is where I even do this in our recruiting conversations where it's like, look, I'm asking you to sit down. And if we're just going to sit down and you're just going to get to know another person, that's not really valuable for either of us, is it? What I'm hoping is when we sit down, you're going to be able to learn something new about the way that this process is going to move going forward that you didn't have before I made this phone call. That's why I'm making this call to you today. That's why I want to set a buyer appointment, a buyer strategy session with you. That's why I want to sit down for a listing presentation. I want after that phone call or after that meeting, that you walk away with a new lease on what could be, a new view on what the process could be, a new understanding of something.
Somebody write that down. Somebody write that down. That right there, what he just said, is huge.
Yes.
That I want you to walk away knowing something about the process or being smarter than you were before you came to the
Correct.
appointment.
Correct.
That for me, it's huge,
Yeah.
right? But if that is the one thing that you accomplish in a 50-minute conversation, you win.
Yes. And you can literally say those words like, hey, we went through these questions. Hey, I just want you to know the next step is for us to sit down and do a buyer appointment. We're going to cover these 3 things, but the goal of this meeting is that you're going to walk away with a much deeper knowledge of what the home buying process is than before we sat down. In 30 minutes and 45 minutes and 60 minutes, you will be more educated about what you're about to do so that you can make more informed decisions to save yourself money, save yourself time, save yourself effort. Okay? We all good with that one? Makes sense? Structure with intent. Oh, we just did that one. Okay. So decorum and approach by channel, right? Phone calls. Use an energetic but not overwhelming tone. Speak slightly slower than your normal pace. Always suggest specific appointment times rather than asking when you're free. Research shows conversion rates increase 25% when you lead with a specific suggestion. I agree with that. Do you remember that guy, the YouTube guy, the Asian guy, or the Australian guy?
Ben?
Yeah, Ben. So there's a great guy. He's a speech master, and he literally talks to high-level CEOs and a bunch of salespeople on the cadence of their speech. Now, I tend to speak a little fast, right? I can really start getting to a role where you can really start to hear a lot of information, but you're not really grasping a whole lot of it, but I can really get the words out. That is
You should
not.
hear me and Connor talk to each other.
Yeah, that is not the speed when you're talking to somebody that is coming from outside of our industry who's learning this stuff in real time. 92 beats per minute. Here's a great tactic. Go online and find a playlist of songs at 92 beats per minute. Listen to that before your lead generation sessions. You will find that there is an appropriate time where you begin to deliver information in a way where you're actually able to grasp it as the other person is actually speaking. All the professional comedians, Jimmy Carr, Tom Segura, anybody who delivers speeches in a presidential address or when speaking to Congress, all adopt a 92 beats per minute methodology. So much more. You could actually, those mini pauses, right? You actually were able to internalize and learn, and you felt much more connected. When you're over the phone with somebody, we have a tendency to want to speed up because we want to get a ton of information out, and we just think, if I could just get all this information out of my mouth and you can get it into your brain, that you're going to understand everything and you're going to want what I want. No. They need to come along the ride with you. They can't be thrown in the trunk of the car while you're doing 80 down the highway. You guys need to be sitting together. You're in the passenger seat, they're in the driver's seat. So provide them with clear communication. How do you guys feel about tone and
Yeah.
phone call and similar?
Have you ever been on the phone with someone and you can feel that they're anxious?
Yes.
Like they're not saying anything. They're not saying, "Hey, I'm anxious. Just wanted to give you a heads up." They're not saying that, but you feel uncomfortable because of how uncomfortable they are. That's where the tone and keeping yourself slow. And even if you stumble on your words, well, congratulations, you're human. We all do. I mean, I hear Pierce make phone calls all day, and he's like, "Sorry, don't know what's going on with my words today," and I can hear the person on the other end laugh.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, they're not laughing at you. You just move them a step further down the line. Because now they trust you.
Yeah.
Because you're a person.
Yeah, you're breaking the walls down a little bit. So text and email, keep messages concise, under 3 sentences for text, under 5 for email, include 1 clear call to action, personalize with details from past interactions for highest open rates, send between 6 to 7 a.m. or 7 to 9 p.m. I think I do like this rule with the 3 sentences and the 5. With, use your judgment. Some you need a little bit more. But I think a lot of people use email as a time where they can just put 3 to 4 paragraphs. That's too much. That's not the appropriate medium in which to do that. If you need to have a conversation that long, that should be a phone call or an in-person meeting, right? If you need to get through an actual long-winded interactive thing, that's why we have appointments, right? Emails are, here's something that I'm thinking about, or here are one to two things that I kind of need an answer on, and let me know. Let them digest that, answer that, and then go back with, if you do have more information that you need after that, then that's what an email thread is for, right? Text should not be paragraphs. How many times have we seen the,
TLDR.
Yeah, and you see the dot, so you have to click, you know?
Yeah, that's not the proper use for
I
text
can't
messaging.
pull it up on my phone and read it in a quick glance.
That's you hiding, yeah, that's you hiding behind not wanting to have the phone call. And so it's simple, if you do have that much, but you have been communicating, be like, hey, can we hop on a short 5 to 7 minute phone call at some point today? I have a couple things, it's just way too long for a text. We've all done that and we've all received it, and not one of us have thought that that's weird. I'd be like, no, text only. Okay, like, no.
Then maybe they're not for you.
Correct, well, yeah. Then I'll say, hey, all right, then I'll throw it in an email just so we can have a little bit of record of it. Social media, comment meaningfully on prospects' posts before sending direct messages, use through market updates, use platform casual and professional. I think we're all pretty decent on social media, yeah, but.
The key is on this.
Yeah, yeah.
So we were talking about social media before. So something that I do every single day. I am human and I do miss it every once in a while, but wake up and, you know, we all wake up and we plan. If you don't, you're way better than me. Okay, but I do. So I wake up and, you know, get around and I look and check my text messages and I hop on Facebook. I don't doom scroll. I hop immediately to my birthdays. And I say happy birthday to everybody on my Facebook, right? Because I'm reaching out to people I haven't talked to in a long time. You may have not talked to them in a whole year, but I'm intentionally doing that with my social media. Just
That's a light touch too. It's nice. Like, you know, sometimes you want to reach out to like an old friend or something like, hey, you know, how's your life been? You like investment properties or something? But happy birthday is really nice because then they're just like, you know, thank you. Like, yeah, football as well. Anything exciting?
Yeah, it's the neutral opening that allows you to start a casual conversation with somebody that where you had no business starting a conversation out of the blue.
and it's been how many times have you run into that?
Well, I just had my birthday on Friday, right? I got 300 people that commented on my wall. It's like, great, thank you. I haven't looked at one of those, but I had 6 people that sent me a direct message. Hey, happy birthday, man. You and the wife doing anything fun tonight? I started conversations with random people from Connecticut, from different, just through those DMs. I responded to all the DMs. I didn't respond to one of the people on my wall. And I'll do one of those casual, like, oh my God, thank you so much to everybody. You can't go through all that. But I love the idea of that's the opening, whether it's on their wall as just a lighter touch, whether you want to take it that next step, go to the DM. World's your oyster. Some people may be more or less apt for one or the other.
Yeah, and I think some people get stuck in the idea of I don't have time for that, or I don't want to waste my time doing it. But like David Snyder, our OP here, who's busier than all of us, let's be honest.
He got
He does
3
it.
brokers licensed in 6 months.
Yeah, he does it every morning at 5 a.m., but every morning he does it.
Yeah. So the in-person one, leverage the power face-to-face, always have business cards and a way to capture contact information, follow it within 2 hours meeting to cement the connection while still fresh. There's a couple things in here I like. One, yes, I do believe that you should carry a representation in physical form of who you are, what you have. A business card is obviously what that is. But I've also heard Gary Keller talk on stage at multiple family reunions that he never carried a business card. Why? Because he's like, I'm not in the contact providing business, I'm in the contact gathering business. Gary's classic was, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have a business card on me. Let me grab your full name and your phone number, and I'll reach out and I'll send you a little bit more information about myself just a bit later, if that's okay. It's gathering. So I like having a business card, don't get me wrong, but the idea is, can you text me? Can I give you a digital business card? How were you gathering theirs?
And
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, tell your sphere to do the same thing for you. Like Andrew's my fiance, he came home last night and was like, oh, a coworker wants to buy. I gave him your contact information. I said, wrong. Never give them my contact information. You give me theirs.
Yes.
And so like, I mean, that's how I talk to Andrew. But try to
same.
get your sphere to work for you that way too.
iPhone, you got iPhone?
Yeah.
You know what's really awesome? Is if you turn on AirDrop and they have I think it's a 14 or newer, you can just touch the top of your phone and pass
I
it.
tried to do this at family reunion, but since I rock the 12 mini, it didn't
Yeah.
do that.
I was at a Lions game, just hanging out with some friends, and you know, I met a high level accountant, and we just passed information, and now we're going back and forth talking about it. So it was
But that last part, then move on here, you need to do like that immediate follow-up. Like after I sit with a recruiter, after I go to a Starbucks and I sit with somebody, like as soon as I'm out of there, I just shoot a say like, hey, pleasure chatting with you, you know, from our conversation, here's some of the follow-ups that I'd love to do next, and here's some of the things that I'd love to connect, but have a great day. Like, it's just that little reiteration of what you just did and anything like that, just a confirmation or what it is. And I personally, and this is where I would be open to whatever you think is best, I like to suggest the next interaction. For me, I always talk about driftwood in a database. I've said this a couple times, but it's anybody in your database that you don't have a scheduled follow-up with in the future, where they don't know when is the next time that we should engage and what are we trying to talk about the next time we engage. So I always try and tee that up. Hey, man, went out to dinner last night with a buddy of mine. Dude, it was great seeing you. Why don't we try in the next couple of weeks here? Why don't we try and get the 4 of us together with the ladies? Let's go out and grab a dinner. All right, man. Have a good night. Bye. It's the same thing. It's just letting you know, all right, here's the next time I want to engage with you on something, right? That's the general disposition for it.
Yeah, and I think with follow-up with leads too works very similarly. I have homeowners right now that aren't interested in selling their house, but they know that around the same time every month I'm checking in to let them know their home property valuation. And I was listening to a webinar the other day that said, it's better to have that, hey Caroline, I know what to expect from you every week or every month. Instead of the like, oh, it's been a year, I'm just gonna sell with somebody else.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, hit me with it. Okay, cool, thank you, next month, bye. Like, that's fine. I mean, not the greatest conversation, but at least you're keeping in touch.
Can I just chuck one more
Please,
thing
please,
at the
please,
end?
please.
So that is, what you said, Connor, was fantastic, is setting the next thing. A great way to do that, and I'm working on getting more consistent with this, is with a video text. I shot it out to a random client called me off the internet. We didn't know each other, and she was like, hey, I'm looking for this. Okay, great. As soon as we got done, she didn't know me from John. I took a video, I did a quick video text and I said, hey, thanks so much for giving me a call. I'm gonna work on this today. Let's get together tomorrow, and I'm really excited to help you. So now they get to see my face, they get to see a bit of me. You might have just hung out, but taking that extra step to send the video,
Yeah.
it's that grenade in the back.
I use that all the time for open houses. I don't really do open houses anymore, but I cut my teeth on them for years. And I got to the point where at the beginning of the open house, I filmed myself in the kitchen. Hey, it was great meeting you. I'm going to be reaching out to you tomorrow just to get any information about that feedback. And I'm going to be providing you a seller's disclosure. So thanks so much for coming to 123 Main Street today. Have a nice day. I recorded at the beginning in the kitchen, and then everybody come through. As soon as I'm walking out, I just went through my thing and I just text. Even if they were represented, I would still, because I'm just looking for feedback and I'm going to send you a seller's disclosure. Now, based on that conversation, I may say like, hey, I saw that you were working with an agent. Best of luck with the property. And if you have any further questions, your agent can reach out. But I still reached out because how many people come to open houses and say they are working with an agent where they're actually not, right? So I allow that there, but I don't continue to pursue them. But anybody who's not working with an agent, I'll send the information, but then I'll call them right after, just be like, hey, I just wanted to make sure I sent it to the correct email address. I just wanted to make sure I followed up with the seller's disclosure like I promised. And again, it's a facial recognition in a house that they were actually at, because they might have gone to multiple open houses. I guarantee I'm probably the only agent doing something similar like that. I actually did what I would say we were going to do. I provided legitimate value, and then I'm available for a conversation, all within like a 24-hour period. That is a lot of things with 24 hours after they did that to stand out. All right, so the rest of the stuff in here. I don't want to go too crazy in this because I want to start getting into like the let's put it together. But identify style, analyze your prospect's communication style. Yes. I have Harrison Pressman. He is an engineer. Hey, Connor. Okay. I helped him buy a house and he wants to sell his house and buy another house. That's because the way I show up to Harrison is, hey, how you doing, man? Good. All right. Well, here's the deal. Here's what's going on. Got it? Cool. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye. I have other clients who we shoot the shit for 13 minutes and then we talk about what we're supposed to talk for 90 seconds, then we hop off the call. Learn, mirror, and match. You are all chameleons. That is your job. You're the chameleon. It's not their job to change. It's your job to change for them. There's a show community. This guy Abed, they're working the whole thing. He's weird. He's really peculiar, but there's a girl that apparently might like him. And so they're like, all right, Abed, try and act like this or try and act like that. And you'd be like, okay, I'll try this. And the line was, when you know who you are and what you like about yourself, changing for other people isn't so darn hard.
Is that community?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a great show.
Love that show.
It's a great show. So what did he care? He's like, I know who I am. I'll change. I'll be this guy. I'll be that guy. I'll be whatever guy you want me to be because that's who that person wants me to show up in that world. You all have to do that in mirror and matching, right? Match language, build a rapport through that, adapt your approach, your pace, your tone, and your content. You should be, every time you hear somebody, if they are a fast talker, start speeding up a little bit. If they're really animated in the way that they like to communicate, you animate. If they're much more stolid, they're much more kind of simple, they're much more emotionally kind of stunted, then you can show up that way, right? I always want to be 10% more optimistic and 10% more expressive than my client, but not 200% more optimistic and expressive than my client, right? I should be just a little bit of that pace moving them forward. I don't want to be more pessimistic than them, 10% more optimistic, right? But gauge your client that way. Where do you guys land on kind of that?
That's where you need to focus on what the words your client are saying instead of the next things that you're gonna say. Because just from listening on the phone, because you can't really see a person or how animated they are on the phone, but you can sometimes hear it if you pay attention. So that's how, especially for me, I am the mirror queen. So like I adjust within the first sentence what my script's gonna look like based on what they sound like. And I mean, you can even look up people on Facebook and kind of guess what their personality is like, but you really have to listen to how they're saying things, how they're phrasing their objections if they have any, and which objections they have. Because some people are gonna be like, this isn't the best market for me, I don't like where the interest rates are right now. Okay, money, numbers driven, normally. Or someone will say, I don't wanna sell my house just yet. My kids took their first steps in the front doorway. I can't sell this house. Super emotional. So you know how to adjust based on that.
All right, so let's keep rocking and rolling. So this is just a little psychology of the timing, and Chris, do you mind just moving the little bottom left screen out of there for a second? This is a little bit, what this has to do with is what's a concept called decision fatigue, right? If you're actually asking a client to make a decision on something, they actually say that between 1 and 5 p.m. is actually one of the worst times that you can get somebody to actually make a decision because the day has already swelled a lot, they've had a lot. When we say get your lead gen done early in the day, it's not because we're just want to make sure that you get it done. This is both for your prospect and for you. Your conviction can drop because you become distracted later in the day. Your clients have had 5 meetings before 4 p.m. that day, and then you're calling them at 4:30. They're like, dude, I don't want to even make it. I don't even want to answer this question. I'm not even here for this right now. Call me tomorrow, right? It's because they're not ready to make that. So we do know that a little bit earlier in the day, when you're trying to get them to make a decision on something, we know that they're generally a little fresher for it, and we're a little fresher in the way that we're going to present that information to them, right? I've had success calling later in the day. Of course we all have, right? But the law of averages generally wins over time over volume, okay? All right, so we're gonna start getting into actually command, but create the smart plan itself, develop kind of what the presentation of that would look like. We're not gonna go too much into that, but it's more about, then we want to script practice around that. I think this is where, like, some of this stuff is a little, fluffy for me at the moment. So I think, are we kind of ready a little bit to start diving into maybe like a particular scenario and actually start doing some of the build?
Yeah.
I think we've gotten through a lot of the theory. And again, I'll send you some of these extra slides. This is just talking about maybe the difference between short-term versus long-term strategies, hot leads versus cold leads, things like that. Awareness, interest, decision, action, smart plans, some of that information. The 5-minute response window, this is so important if you're dealing with online leads or any type of engagement where somebody reaches out to you. Like, you're on the clock. 5 minutes after that, the window significantly drops.
And that varies on the lead service that you're paying for too. If it's online, sometimes they can be sent out to 2 or 3 agents at once. So you better be picking up the phone right away.
Let's be honest with ourselves for a second while we're talking. I need you guys to understand that if they reach out to you through Zillow, Realtor.com, through Homes.com, okay, they are not just on your radar. Because when they hit submit for I want to know, that explodes. And maybe you're the 4th agent that they're talking to about a different property. So keep that in mind, that when he says you're on the clock in that 5 minutes, they're testing you. They're immediately testing you. And let's be honest, that every buyer that you talk to is probably in 10 other people's databases right now.
Yeah.
So I've struggled with this a little bit is I know getting to them as fast as you can is good, but you also want to like prep yourself for like what they could possibly like ask or what they're looking for. Like obviously know it's a buyer or seller lead. But like, do you guys have like, I guess we might get into this with the scripts, but like just like a generic thing that So you're just doing your LP
That-
mama.
I was getting phone calls in the shower, at the grocery store, in the car, wherever. We don't get to control when these leads come in.
I'm sorry.
I've stepped out of the shower, like legit naked in the bathroom, like, hello, this is Connor. I saw that you were in here. Like,
That's my worry that I
Seriously.
have to do that. It's
They
super
never
quick.
call at a convenient time. It's never at a convenient time.
So
Just,
mama, no matter.
just no helping on.
For you. That's great. Fantastic. You're having issues with that quick 5-minute phone call because you don't feel confident.
Right.
Right? Let's get a little deeper into that really fast. Why don't you feel confident?
People that feel like I need to know everything before I hop on a call with somebody or something. I guess it just
So what are you doing right now?
studying, learning,
What are you
getting better,
studying? Do you learn?
follow-ups currently.
Let me give you a quick thing that is going to change how you feel about real estate. On Bright MLS, there is a function that it's the hot sheet that pops up, and you can change the metric on that hot sheet to whatever location you want to sell in, whether it's in county, Sussex, price range, bedrooms, bathrooms. And what that's going to do is every single day, that's going to pop up and tell you what came to the market, what went down in price, what went up in price, what sold, what went pending. You can look at that. You can take 5 minutes every single morning to pull that up. As soon as you open up your computer to start working, go straight to that. And immediately, you're already going to feel 10 times more confident
Right.
because you just took 5 minutes to look at what happened in the market. You can go 24 hours, 72 hours this week, and I guarantee you, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not in a week, but you're gonna have a moment in your career, in your life, where you go, oh shit, I just got a random call and I just spit out 5 different addresses. I knew that they went down or up in price. I knew this neighborhood because you did your homework.
Yeah.
Right? That is the secret sauce. Whatever it is, when you realize that you don't feel confident, when you go in to take a test, if you know the material, you're going to be confident. You're gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna be the first one down. I studied for this for weeks. I got it. I know the information, right? So knowing your market information and using those tools is gonna help you feel that better.
Let's separate things though. And that we should all be doing that on a
Yeah.
consistent basis, bar none, full stop, right?
For sure.
But let's remember, the goal of the phone call is to connect and set the appointment. I don't have to solve 25 to 30 minutes worth of problems for that prospective buyer or seller on the first phone call. What I'm trying to do is just grab enough qualifying information. Yeah, they may have a random question or two. Hey, you know what? I get that question all the time. So why don't we do this? When we sit down for our meeting, have that question ready, and I want you between now and then to think of any other questions that you have. If you want to shoot them over as a text, just so when we do hop on the call, I can be as prepared as I can for you. What I think we all try and do again is in the early go, we think we have to know everything on these first engagements. Now, at a buyer presentation, you do want to know your stuff. You do want to be prepared. You want to be articulate about the process. You want to be articulate about building a search. You want that all in the presentation. But the presentation is an hour. If my buddy Brendan said, "Hey man, let's go get ready for dinner. Let's grab dinner last night," which is what we did. Our phone call was 3 minutes to set up the dinner where we sat for 2 hours and talked about life, talked about business, talked about his girl, talked about my wife. Like we talked about all those different things. I didn't spend 30 minutes on the phone with him going through all that stuff first. Then it's like, why would we even meet?
Yeah.
You also have to make sure, don't give away too much information on that
Right.
first phone call. That's the other point. If you spend 20 minutes on the phone call with them, giving them a bunch of stuff, there's no reason for them to set the appointment with you. So, hey, location, price, little mortgage, hey, I've been working with an agent, what's the new information? All right, great. Well, let's get together. Well, I have a couple other questions. Hey, I totally understand. And the best way that I'm going to be prepared to give you good answers is when we do this meeting. So if you want, grab the questions. I got my cell. Is this the best number to text on? Okay, cool. Text me over the questions, and then we'll meet, whether it's tonight, tomorrow night, or whenever, and we'll go through every single one of those, and we'll spend as much time as you need so we can flush those answers out properly. I don't want to shortchange you here on a call because we kind of got connected. I'm kind of out and about. I'm not sitting right in front of my command central. So when we sit for the appointment, we'll go through all of that. Cool. All right, great. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you then. All right.
Love that.
Yeah, it's setting the tone.
Yeah. And-
Like, every time you're having a conversation, like we talked about before, you should be aiming for the next appointment or the next meeting or the next whatever.
Yeah.
But I think explaining to people a little bit, saying like, this is just an introduction. I just wanted to learn more about you. I hate the word just, and the fact that I use it twice kind of makes me, but letting them know this is a phone call, not an appointment.
Yeah.
I want to give you a little more information about me. I want to hear a little bit about you so we can build some rapport. And then when we come to that meeting, I know to ask about your kids. I know to all the things.
I make a jest, like, and again, I use this for prospecting and I've also used it for recruiting, where it's like, look, I am literally just a dude over the phone right now. Like, I want a chance to meet you. I do most of my buyer presentations on Google Meet. That's mine. I do almost all of them Google Meet and Zoom. I find that it's a little bit lower barrier to entry. We can build a rapport without going too crazy. It also makes the scheduling a lot more flexible, right? Things like that. But if you do them in person, no problem. Where it's like, look, I'm just a guy over the phone right now. You don't know much about me. That's fine. We're going to cover all that, but I want you to have a chance to meet me a little more face to face. I want to be able to kind of sit and hold court with you so that we can actually spend the time on these things. So remove the obligation on these phone calls to have to go through friggin' anything like that.
Yeah.
The goal of the phone call is to say, hi, I can help you. I just have a couple clarifying questions, and then I'm going to tell you what the next steps are. That's really, I'm looking on Zillow. I've never bought a house before. I've only ever rented. I've done that because I've just clicked on things. I had a conversation with the property manager that said, yeah, they'll send me over. I'm kind of looking for the same thing. I'm not looking to press that button and then have a 45-minute conversation with you.
Yeah.
But we're going into it thinking we need to be prepared for a 45-minute conversation. Why? It's just our own insecurities manifesting themselves in a lack of preparation or a lack of ability to move the conversation to the real thing, which is the appointment. And we know that, like, when you get somebody for an appointment, your likelihood of working with that person, I don't want to throw a random statistic out, but it increases dramatically. The
Yeah.
minute we get face to face, Google Meet to Google Meet, Zoom to Zoom, that's when we know that everything's going to move forward.
So I can,
Just here to gather some information and then get us ready so we can have a longer conversation. That's it.
I can say with confidence. I can say with confidence that for me, it's like a 98%. If I'm actually sitting in front of somebody, it's about a 98% that we're going to
Yeah.
get into some kind of business.
People don't need you to be everything. They just need you to not screw up.
Be something.
Yeah, they don't need you to be perfect. They need you to be knowledgeable, obviously have a couple things. My rule was always, I just want to know 3 things that they don't. I found that was a sweet spot. So I learned like obscure one-lines in my contract. And I would say, like, did you know that there's actually a line in the New Jersey contract that says when the property is sold, the property must be removed of all contents and broomed clean. I've used that to my advantage in offer negotiations. Hey, like, literally, who cares about that? I mean, can care a little bit.
Yeah.
But what I did was, I don't care if it's a doctor, lawyer, engineer. I just want to know that, hey, there's information that I know that you don't. And that's why I'm valuable to you. So whether it's competent market knowledge about that, whether it's your ability to mirror and match them in tonality so that they feel comfortable with you, whether it's just picking out a couple random facts that you've come to as your little trough of facts just to make sure that they understand these things, like that's what my biggest one was always, hey, what we're going to go over in that appointment is the 3 times that money's going to leave your account. They're like, 3 times? Like, exactly. We're going to cover all that and I'm going to explain in detail.
And as you can see, like the 3 of us are all successful real estate agents, right? And we all have just a little bit different of a cadence, a little bit different of how we approach things, but that doesn't mean that we're not successful in our own rights. So for you guys kind of got to pick and choose what works best for you.
Yep.
But all these things that we've been talking about today are great examples.
And I think I'm gonna get into it a little bit, but for me, when I first started, I had major phone call anxiety, and I would literally tremble before I picked up the phone because I was so scared that someone would like curse me out. So I had to get to a point where I was grounding myself and literally just looking at the script, which LP Mom is a good one, but saying to myself, okay, if I hit 3 out of 5, I'm okay. So I'm just gonna focus on hitting at least 3 of the 5 letters there, and I'll be okay. And then just building my confidence that way and taking, like I said, 30 seconds to be like, okay, LP Mama, I got it. All right, ready, go. It's just like Mel Robbins' like 10-second thing.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just have to like take a second. I'm okay.
And any of you guys skateboard? Or you kind of really?
I longboarded all through.
So-
a little bit. I've jumped it.
What she's talking about right there, the scariest moment in my life, ever, I've been shot at.
Really?
I've been shot at, okay, multiple times in the military and out of the military, right? And don't get me wrong, I was scared. But the real test for me was actually going into a half pipe on the table, right? Scariest moment of my life because I looked down on that and I knew that if I ate it, I could kill myself, right? If I fell the wrong way, maybe my helmet broke, maybe whatever it may have been, I could have done that to myself, right? But I had to commit. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, whatever it is. Once I made that commitment that I was going to do that, I went at it. And guess what? First time, did it great. Second time, ate it.
Yeah.
Right? But that's okay. But I was able to look what I was scared of in the face and do it. And I committed to it. So when you go into this, just commit to it. Commit to saying, I'm just going to do it. Tom Ferry says it best. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be what? Done. Right? And if you do mess up, that's okay.
Luckily, we're all undefeated even on our worst day of our life. We've all experienced the worst day of our life and we're still here. Like, I guarantee you none of these phone calls will come close to any of that.
Yeah.
We build it up to be, but it also becomes muscle memory. And that's why whether it's a script that you use, whether it's, I always found that like a model was easier for me to remember than a script, right? Trying to remember like a long-winded, like I was bad in plays, like I couldn't remember the thing, but if you gave me like a general matrix, I could talk for half an hour on what that is, just because I could then ebb and flow through the general concepts, right? So that's why something like this on the fly became a little easier to adopt for me, right? That was the way that I had it. I was literally gonna get it tattooed on my forearm. I was gonna have LP Mama tattooed right here, just so I could literally like sit there on every, but I didn't. But I didn't. My brother has mathematics equations all over his arms for his work, but. So let's,
Awesome.
it's pretty cool. So, all right, so let's do this. I want us to then begin to kind of partner off a little bit and be able to chat. So I'm gonna want us to all be able to start partnering off a little, to start working on some of the things. What I want each of you to do though is think about your business. What is a lead source that you're getting right now? And what is the type of, who is that client? Is it buyer clients that I'm getting from walking leads? Is it I'm getting buyer leads through social media? Is it that I'm trying to make connections with people from an event that I went with and I want to try and do a follow-up based on that? So just take 2 to 3 minutes here real quick for each of you and just come up with maybe 1, 2, or 3 of the type of clients right now that you maybe don't have an existing follow-up plan for, or maybe you have one, but it's really boilerplate and you're looking for something maybe a little bit more advanced. So take 2 to 3 minutes here real quick and kind of come up with what those are. Then what we'll do is we'll partner off a little bit. We'll use some chat GPT to help come up with the framework for what those conversations should look like. And then we'll flip into Command or into Lofty or whatever, and we'll actually start being able to build the smart plan that way.
Okay, if I want this, is everybody okay if I want?
So do you want to do it individually with them, or do you want me to throw it up here on
So
the?
I would like them to come up with it, but then I think I'd like to see each of them see how we're gonna build it for each one of them, right? Because I want the exposure, the osmosis learning from each. Yes. You already did.
Yeah.
How you doing, Nina?
It's here for culture, but it's I can always use some.
Yeah.
I drop some gems and
The greatest course on.
Pick the grave on the wall.
And we recorded the whole one, so we'll be sharing it back out. So what are we thinking of some of the clients? Yeah.
I mean, buyers and sellers. That's what you mean, right?
So where are they coming from? What's your number one lead source right now?
I need more qualifying, yeah, we need more
Zillow
qualifying.
Flex.
information.
Bill?
So Zillow Flex, so do you think, so a Zillow Flex lead, because let's go down the rabbit hole here, right? Do you think that a Zillow Flex lead, coming back to this, Zillow Flex lead a cold database lead?
No.
Okay. So are they a cool lead?
No, I would say they're warm or hot.
I would agree with the hot, they're a hot lead,
Yeah.
right? They're a, like, I need to have them right away. They probably, like we said, have been blasted to a couple other people. So I need immediate touches in a short period of time to really establish rapport quickly with that person. So Zillow Flex lead, most likely a buyer. They're a hot lead, so there's something that they can communicate quickly with. And what is Zillow Flex's main thing that they want? Why did they click on that button in the first place?
Oh,
It was the house.
Oh.
Right, so we now know kind of the underlying content of why we're gonna communicate with them and around what. I'm not gonna communicate with a Zillow lead and be like, do you need a CPA?
Right.
Well, no, I clicked on Zillow for a reason, because I wanna see a house. It's like, great, so all my follow-up should be really aimed at trying to make that happen for them. Now, they don't know that there are steps in between that. Buyer strategy session, making sure that they're pre-approved for the amount, all that. But that's not right for them. The appointment is fantastic. You wanna see that house on Saturday? Perfect. Well, what we can either do is Saturday morning or Friday afternoon, let's hop on our buyer strategy session so I can work through what you need. And then once we go through that, you'll be able to go into the house. Well, I'm really just looking at seeing the house. I totally understand that. However, the way that real estate works right now is from buyer agency agreement, and I know there's like different like one day showing things and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
so Delaware doesn't have an office listed by agency, I think New Jersey and PA do,
Yeah.
it might just be PA. But like setting it for a day, setting it for a week.
Yeah. So we still need to be able to sit down and I need to review that with you at a minimum. So we still do need to meet. Again, we could do it on Zoom, we could do Google Meet, we don't have to make this whole big thing, but we do need to meet prior to seeing the home. It's the new world of real estate, every brokerage in all states has to operate this way. So is Friday better or is Saturday better? Just, we don't back off of that.
Yeah.
That's the way that it has to be done.
And I wonder if setting the tone in the beginning, as you were talking, made me think that, like, okay, I see that you're interested in touring 123 Main Street. We are skipping a couple steps. So I wanted to let you know, like, what the process forward is.
Yes.
So they realize that actually you do have to do something before you go out and tour a property legally.
You can also, like, you can make some jokes here. Hey, totally understand. By doing it the way you want to do it, that's sort of like getting from the top of the Grand Canyon to the bottom by jumping. What I'd like to rather do is show you the trail that's been cut that gets you down there safely, that you get to experience it in the correct way. Yes, it'll take you a smidge longer to get there, but I guarantee you're gonna get there with a lot less bumps and bruises. So is that cool? So make some, you can make light
It'd
of
be a
this.
lot
If-
stressful.
Right, if you're always super serious, because again, how long do we work with the average buyer? A couple of months, right? Like we could work with some buyers for years. If it's gonna be like, hello, we have to have buyer meeting, here's the house. Dude, I'm not about to do 3 months of this, like, you're way too, like, be yourself. Genuineness and authenticness is what you're trying to convey. Like, mirror and match in tone, mirror and match in style, but be you. Like, there's nothing worse than when you hear somebody and you're like, dude, I have no idea how you show up at 5:01 because I guarantee it's definitely not like this. This is some weird packaged thing that you're doing right now. Like, I don't know if I can even trust you. Like, I just interviewed 3 different advertising companies for this. And I met with all of them. The first 2 were fumbling over what were clearly red scripts. They said a lot of the right things, and I had zero connection with that individual. I'm like, if I'm gonna be working with you on an ongoing basis to have to engage with you multiple times, like, I have no interest in this. The other guy was way less professional, but he was funny, engaging. He asked me more about like, you're an Eagles fan, right? I said, of course I am. He's like, oh, thank God. All right, let's keep rolling then. I can work with you, no problem. Like, he made light of it. And I was like, dude, we didn't even really get to his pitch, but he was just gravitating to me and like in a way that I felt like I was gonna connect with him. So that's what it went. Yes. All right, so Chris is obviously bringing up some of the stuff that he's got inside of Command specifically. Now, for Tyler and for Max, y'all are gonna wanna do this in Lofty, right? Now, Caroline, how comfortable are you making smart plans in Lofty? Have you got?
2 weeks is gonna be a lot easier.
Okay, so I've built them in Lofty as well. So Max and Tyler, if you guys wanna build this out in Lofty or anything like that, happy to help. When you do that, Athena, we can obviously do this more in Command.
So the skills that I'm gonna show you today translate to whatever smart plan program you're gonna use, whether it's Brivity, Lofty, or whatever. The only difference is gonna be the physical actions of setting up the smart plan in your CRM. Right, I'm using Command because that's what Keller Williams used, that's what I use, and that's what I'm good with. But the other piece of this that I'm going to show you is going to be using AI to help you generate these. Okay, so I am gonna take this.
Is this for, are we still on the Zillow buyer, or is this just?
We're gonna do one for each of you. So,
You're gonna build one out for
I'm gonna build,
scenario.
right, the first one is gonna be the Zillow fire off. The second one will be for the next guy, and the third one, I'm gonna build the smart plan off of the first one. So we can go through the actual actions of building the smart plan, but I'm gonna show you using AI how to develop and build the smart plans towards your individual thing, so that all you have to do is rip and duplicate it into whatever smart plan piece that you're gonna build. Alright, so, we're gonna go over here to whatever AI you wanna use. Guess we'll do ChatGPT. Okay. So, you have a Zillow lead, right? So,
Yeah.
you have a Zillow lead, Zillow Flex,
Mhm.
right? So, create for me, actually, let me do this.
Third time's a charm.
Yeah, alright. So, the reason I'm using this is because it's already got my tone of voice in there, and it's got some examples to show you what you can do with this. Alright, so, we're gonna ask ChatGPT, how many steps do you want in this action plan? Do you want 10? Do you want 5? Do you want 15? How many steps would you want to use?
At least 5.
At least 5, right? So create for me a 5-step
It's not you, Chris, it's that keyboard.
step follow up plan for use in my CRM for a hot Zillow lead.
Does everyone understand why Chris logged into his own ChatGPT account? Because as you start using ChatGPT under your own login, it starts to understand how you want responses created and what tone they come in. Because if you just go in as without a user put in, it'll give you a very boring response. But this is going to cater to Chris's business and how he's had them create follow-up plans in the past.
So here's your first script, right? Obviously we have our own scripts, but here's your first script, phone call, right? My Zillow lead came in, boom, this is what I'm gonna do firsthand, right? The next 24 hours, the next values, the next urgency and engagement, and the next ongoing weekly follow-up, right? So what I'm gonna ask it to do now is I'm gonna ask it to give me more details, and I'm gonna ask it to give me an email, a phone call, and a text message, right? Because in each step, we're gonna make a phone call, right? You're gonna have that call like, hey Max, thanks for calling me, or hey, thanks for reaching out through Zillow. I'm really excited to get you started, which is my script. What you're gonna do is you're gonna send a text message that's gonna be very similar to that, right? That's gonna say, hey, thanks, I love talking to you today. Thanks for this. You know, I look forward to speaking to you tomorrow. The email that's gonna send out is gonna say something very similar to that first conversation, right? So, add text, add a text message, email, and a phone call for each step. So in this, what's gonna happen, we're gonna talk about triggers, and we're gonna talk about tags and triggers. So if you get a Zillow lead and your Zillow is set up correctly, it should trigger, that lead should go to you in your CRM, and it could, I don't know how Locky works, but in Command, it'll trigger an automatic smart plan. That automatic smart plan will generate this, so it'll give you that, hey, you need to call this person right now, right? That'll flag. And then you pull it up and you make your first script, okay? And it will send this text message to, like, it'll flag this, and then within a certain amount of time, it'll send that text message out, hey, this is so-and-so from the team, I'm really looking forward to talking to you, right? And then the email, you can set it up to execute at any given time, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take all this information, and we're gonna R&D it. We're gonna put it into Command, right? So first things first, we're gonna create a task. So the first thing that we're gonna do when that Zillow hits is we're gonna create a phone call, right? Zillow lead call.
Description, L, P.
Yeah, right. So we can come here, I think you just rip this. Maybe? Oh. It might help if I'm using the right keys. I have an Apple, and I'm trying to hit.
It's hard.
Yeah. Right? Okay. All right. So the next thing we're gonna do, you hit add step. The next thing we'll do is send a text message, right? And then you can just rip that straight off of here. And drop it in. Now what's really cool is that you can actually set this up to where it's not just the same thing every time. You can set this up, because this smart plan is gonna go to every single Zillow lead that hits, because it's gonna flag on the tag that we're gonna talk about when we're done showing this. So you can put dynamic and add as many different, I think you can add up to 6 actually. 6 different versions of that text message, 6 different versions of the email that we're gonna put out there. So that every client, like, if 2 of my clients are in the same room, they're like, oh, did you get that text message too? No, mine was a little, no. It wasn't the same. No.
Mine was handcrafted.
Right? Exactly. Right, so you can make it dynamic. And then as far as an email goes, remember in this step, this is gonna fire off when you tell it to fire off, right? So if you wanna change this, or if this is your, if this is your immediate follow-ups, like when I have leads come in, my leads come in through email. So my leads will zip into Command, and Command then says, oh, you are this lead. And it fires off, it auto triggers to that lead, so it fires off this email for me. Does that
You do
make
the same
sense?
stuff.
Are we tracking? Okay. So, one of the cool things that you can do with ChatGPT is tell it how to talk, right? So when I ask for create a see if it does it, it should do it. Okay, so for whatever reason, it's not doing it, but that's okay.
Would you like variations for different tones?
Give me a professional, a fun tone, a funny tone option. So depending on how you want to sound, right? It could be jokey, it could be fun. Like for me, in my text messages, I like emojis. right? They're fun, but they kind of hit a point, but it also says, hey man, I'm not trying to sell you shit, I'm just trying to have fun and send you a fun text. Maybe something you can enjoy a little bit while getting some value out of it, right? But the thing that you have to decide when you do this is, what is your voice? How do you want to sound? You can tell ChatGPT how you want it to sound. Professional, fun. The other thing you could do is create this for a first-time home buyer. Okay? So now it's going to engage a little bit different and give you some different words, some different versions of these text messages or any of the information that we're going to put into this smart plan, right? That's now catered towards a first-time home buyer. So if you know that you're getting first-time home buyers, you can set them up to the first-time home buyer script or the first-time home buyer smart plan, etc. Are you guys tracking?
Mhm.
All right, so now I'm gonna go all the way back, and I'm gonna go just like this, like the tools that I showed you. I'm gonna create a 5-step plan on follow-up with we'll call it a first-time home buyer. And then I'll have it add all of these things, and we'll talk a little bit more about why I did what I did. So, create a 5-step hire lead. Give me 3.
I think utilizing AI takes the stress out of follow-up too. Because you can actually put into ChatGPT, like, give me 3 options for the best follow-up scripts. Or the ones that work well for this area, instead of just thinking over and over what's gonna make sense for this client right now, and just kind of downward spiraling into your.
So I just told it everything I wanted it. These are buyers. They may or may not have a lender. They're coming in from, so this is to build a smart plan in my CRM using phone calls and scripts, text messages and emails. I asked it to give me 3 different options for each one of those: a professional tone, a fun tone, a casual tone. I like emojis, so I put emojis on there. And then I told them who the audience was, right? This piece, this audience piece, is one of the biggest wins. The closer that you can get to your audience, like if you know that your key people are people aged 25 to 35, right? Then you can put that in there, because the words they use, the intonation they use is going to change depending on your audience, right? So the better that you can nail down, the closer that you can get to your actual specific audience, the closer the verbiage you use, right? Max, how old are you? What, 23?
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm 41. The words and the things that matter to me are different than the words and the things that matter to you. So being able to curtail that in the future is going to change how your response is to these. But this is kind of a basic way to get it done, right? So this is step 1. Professional, fun, casual, right? And you can put this in the dynamic pieces that we were just talking about in your smart plan here, right? So text message dynamic. So there we go. Add step, right? So that's how we start the plan. You take your phone call script and you put it where you want to make a phone call. You take your text message that you just asked ChatGPT to do and you put it in the text place, right? Now you go the next step. What do you want it to do? Let's send that email off because we already talked to them. So now we want to create an email to put in here. So what's really cool is you can actually go into designs. If you use design command, I know you guys use Lofty, but if you guys go into, I think KW used to use Lofty, right?
I know a lot of the bigger teams still use Lofty. I don't know if KW as a whole did.
I think they used to,
Might
but,
have been.
so you can go into designs and you can make a design. Maybe it's like a market report that you update every month, right? You can build that design in command, and then you can have that market report from command go into this step for your email. So there's graphics and all the fun stuff that goes along with that, right? Another cool feature, and this is something that I use. How many of you guys use Canva? Okay, everybody uses Canva. Did you know that you can create a public link for Canva? Let me show you what that
Like you
looks
could share,
Let me show you what that looks like.
Like you can
like
share
anybody
it.
can access it.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
It's awful.
Let's see here. So, here is my Canva link. Right.
I swear linking this computer screen is like the hardest thing.
Now it's adapting from a normal to.
That's awesome.
Yeah, right? So who needs to make complicated, who needs to go through complicated garbage when you can just make your presentation on Canva and share it with the world? There's my newsletter. It's what everybody gets. Every month they get this from me. It's pretty sweet, yeah? So you can add that public view into your text message, into your email, and all they have to do is click and there's your market report for the month.
Updates itself each month.
I have to update it. I go in and manually update.
Oh,
How
Right.
often though, like?
What that
Like-
once a month?
So my thing would be like I feel that, okay, because people are coming in at different stages, so like what the newsletter for somebody today could be completely different from 2 weeks from now. You know?
So
you just
your
have, like,
newsletter,
the-
well, so my newsletter, I have one for Kent, Sussex, and Newcastle, right? Because I only sell in Delaware right now. So all I'm doing is saying, hey guys, this month or last month, obviously we're a month behind on statistics. So last month, right, there was rising home prices in Kent County. The rental market is hot. This, that, and the other, all the general statistics. Those are kind of things that people are interested in. They kind of want to hear that stuff. I only put up 5 or 6 different bullet points and I make them very quick, just so they can quickly scan and go, okay, cool, nothing changed, or hey, wow, something drastic change. The biggest pieces to my newsletter is where to go this week for food, right?
love that you
How
have that.
how many times have you been like, man, I don't know where to eat, and then you're like, oh man, I just saw something in my email, right?
You put Joseph in there too. Great.
Yeah,
recommendation.
right? So I pick places to eat, and I pick things to do. What are 2 cool things you can do this week, or 3 cool things you can do this month? And I try to make them seasonal, like season specific, to do something. Yes, it takes a little time to do this. Eventually, somebody else is going to do this for me, hopefully in the near future. But this is a great tool. Another great tool that I use, since we're talking about smart plans and all the fun stuff, is I do a monthly market report. Let's see here. Right, and I do the same thing.
you aren't using hyperlinks for links, you should. It makes it easier to click and people aren't as scared to touch it.
Right. It's cool though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I pull rates from Zillow since it's a public source, and there it is, right? These are estimated rates, and you gotta make sure you put that little blurb down there, right?
Yeah.
But this is a follow-up smart plan. Every one of my buyers and every one of my sellers get automatically added to this. Because this information is relevant to them. If it's a home seller, why is this information relevant to my home sellers?
Because they need to know about how active the buyer market is.
Well,
The buying power.
what does the seller turn into?
A buyer.
A buyer, right?
Or if they're running finance.
All of those things. Okay.
So would you just come in to here, just like you are right now, edit, and then repaste your thing that you already updated?
So I don't have to update that. That link is forever. That link will never go away because
And
that's
you update it on Canva.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So if you look at since I've showed you guys how to do that, right? I'm gonna pull up my new buyer package here. So to do any of this, you drag from the side here and put it here. Okay. You can only do one of each activity once per day. Right, so you can only add one text message, one email, and one phone call. Okay. So if I have a smart plan that I've created, i.e. my Market Watch smart plan, you can tell Command to add that smart plan to any smart plan. So my new buyers, they get my expectation email, right? Yep, it's War and Peace novel, right? But it clearly outlines my expectations. I've already had this conversation with you. If you're a buyer, I've already had this conversation with you. But this is just to reaffirm with my buyers that this is what you can expect from me, okay?
So you're not sending this to people that you haven't spoken with yet?
Correct. Yep. So I manually put them on these smart plans.
Right.
I have smart plans that are designed off of internet leads.
Yeah.
Right? So
Can we see what that looks like when
Yeah.
you're done?
yeah, absolutely. So my first email is talking about the first steps of buying a home, right? Again, we've had this conversation, but this just reaffirms that what I talked about, I walk the walk and I talk the talk, right? So then I bring them to my website. Your fastest way to search for a home is on my personal website. Please check my website, right? Monthly market update. Bi-weekly neighborhood nurture. So, talking about Command again, I'm sure Lofty has something similar. Bi-weekly neighborhood nurture is important because you are conversing with your buyer. Hey, where do you want to live? You want to live in Bayberry. You want to live, you want to live in, I don't know, Caravel Farms, right?
Nice.
You're going to highlight those and you're going to add those to your contact in Command and add them to that bi-weekly neighborhood nurture. What that's going to look like is it's a quick email that gives them a snapshot of everything that's happening in that neighborhood, right?
You can do the exact same thing in Lofty.
Perfect. So it gives you that snapshot so you can see it. So now they're getting a whole bunch of touches from me. They're getting my monthly market update, right? From rates and what happened in the market as a whole, what the average sales price was, how many days on market they were sitting, how many houses sold and how many houses pended. They're getting that actual activity in the specific neighborhoods that they're looking for, right? I created this 12-touch monthly plan. So this 12-touch monthly plan is a 1-sentence email that goes out every month. And it says, hey, what can we do to help you out? Hey, did you know that these 3 lenders that I use offer refinances? And I would love to talk to you about them. Let me know if you need that help, right? It goes, hey, do you need a contractor? Is there work that needs to be done? How can I help you out? It's 1 quick sentence, 1 email every month.
How long did it take you to build out all of these smart plans?
To be honest, I had to learn how to do it, but once I learned how to do it, I can build a smart plan in probably, depending on how like thick it is, probably about an hour. Right?
So we'll say like it would take a whole day to set up all your smart plans.
Yes, yes. It should take
Yeah.
all day to set up your smart plans. And please go back on your smart plans as you develop these. In other ecosystems, these are called drip plans, right? Drips, smart plans. I don't know what really.
There's probably names.
Yeah, there's a ton of different ones, right? But my birthday, my home anniversary, right? The idea here is to build this smart plan to touch your client with relevant value. Okay, if you are a new home buyer, what information would be important to you to know today? The market, what happened in the counties, right? Specifically what's happening in the neighborhoods that you're looking at today. And then the rest of these are just designed to say, hey, I'm thinking about you. Hey, your birthday was yesterday. I'm thinking about you. Hey, did you know, I know you bought your house 15 years ago, but did you know you bought your house on July 1st, 15 years ago? Congratulations. You've owned a home for 15 years. You can say that you've owned a home longer than most people in the United States. Because what's the move rate? Do we know? 7 to 10. 7 to 10 years. So you've been in your home for 15 years. That's an amazing feat. How'd you do it? Right? Quick conversation about that. Okay. That is ultimately the goal of a smart plan of a drip, is to provide value and an opportunity for you to start conversations without actually having to pick up the phone that day, right? But it gives you an opportunity and it lets your clients know that you were actually thinking about them.
You would send that in an email most likely, or the anniversary of their
No.
house. So you would just call somebody out of the blue and say, hey, just
Yeah.
call and say, happy 15 years.
Is it out of the blue though?
Sort of. I'm just wondering where like the value add is. 'Cause after they hang up, they're gonna be like,
Got it.
he just wanted me to just call, you know?
Okay.
At least that's what I would think.
Okay.
What point was that?
Let's build this back, right? So you and I, we talked 8 months ago about buying a house. And okay, maybe you weren't ready. I'm providing you value. This is just one smart plan that I'm providing value. Okay? So we're talking every month because I'm trying to follow up and make sure that, hey, you were talking to me about credit problems. So we're talking about building your credit. I'm following up with you on the credit, right? But at the same time, I'm passing you all this relevant information. Like, you know what what's happening in the market. The reason I'm sending this to you is so that you're thinking, right? Well, I'm working on my credit. The average sales price in the market just dropped 20 grand. So that means that my finish line for getting my credit and value just dropped 20 grand.
Right.
Right? There's reasons for all of these. It's all interconnected. Right? So you're already getting this information from me directly, but we have a relationship, right? Whether it's we're talking every week or we're talking every month, we have a relationship. And if you already own that home and I call you and I say, dude, this is quite the feat. Did you know today, 10 years ago, was the day you bought your house? How does it feel to know that you've owned a house for 10 years? Did you know, by the way, that in 10 years, you've probably beaten down with what's called PMI? Have you changed that? Have you got rid of your PMI? And then you say to me, well, what the fuck's PMI? I don't know what that is. And now I just saved you $800 a month.
Right.
That $800 a month now goes to pay off your credit, right? So, is it just a home anniversary? Am I just calling you to randomly say that a home anniversary? No. I'm actually bringing some value to you. But if you already know that information, then it's just me thinking about you, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't harp too hard on what conversation you're gonna have. Like, that's a good way to go into it. But it's also keeping in touch. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I bought my car in 2020, and the guy that sold it to me calls me on my birthday every year and the day that I bought the car. And you don't really think about going back to the same car dealer to purchase new cars, but because he does that, I'm like, oh, Ken still works at Toyota World. That's all I think. So if I walk into Toyota World, am I gonna use Ken? Probably. But it's just another tool in your tool belt.
Yeah. So you guys asked me about my internet lead smart plans. So for me, I don't use Zillow. If you're part of a group that does, congratulations, they're an amazing lead source. I just don't wanna pay $30,000 a month to get solid leads. Right, I'm not about that life. But if I do get an internet smart plan, this is what it looks like. So my tag is buyer RS, right? When it's an internet lead, it'll generate that buyer RS. Or if I see it come in, I'll make sure to hit buyer RS and drop it on here. So, first step, 5 minutes, make a phone call, right? I get that trigger that says, hey, a lead came in.
Do you care if I write down what you do on each day?
No, I mean, I tell you what, guys, what I'll do is instead of doing that,
Okay.
what I'll do is I will send this to command. Oh, you guys don't use command. Well,
Yeah, it's
yeah, so what I'll do is I'll
Just put us on the smart plan so that we can like live it.
I'm gonna publish this smart plan to the library. Just look up my last name and you'll see it. Okay?
That down there.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
I'll publish a couple of these smart plans out for you guys to see. When you guys copy it, obviously you're gonna need to change some information on there.
Yeah,
My name and my team is on there. So I'm all about sharing and duplicate. So make a call, sending an email. Hey, thanks for reaching out through my website or through one of our properties. I'm thrilled to assist you. Can we schedule a quick call this week? Right? Same thing with the text message. Boom. Thanks for looking on the page, on our page. So if you do like an affiliate, right? Some leads are built off an affiliate, maybe homes.com, maybe realtor.com, Zillow, maybe like the realty.com, whatever .com you use. You can sometimes just put on an affiliate page or one of our, like I work with a bank. So the bank,
Ooh, I like that word, affiliate page.
Right.
Alright, I'm going-
so it can be an affiliate page, an affiliate partner, right? If it's through a bank or through like a service, like maybe Zillow or whatever, right? You could just put in affiliate. So all of this just copies, right? On day 2, if I haven't talked to you, if you haven't responded to my emails or text messages, because at the bottom of this, let me see, let me get back up here. This is something that's kind of important, if I can scroll. Oh, why it's not working.
You would have to scroll to the bottom of the smart plan and then be able to scroll down.
Okay, here we go. So, on this smart plan, if they respond to my text message or my email, it removes them from the smart plan. Because simply put, this smart plan is designed for you to call me, you to reach back to me. And if you reach back to me, now we are in business, right? Maybe we're not in business, but to my brain, we're in business. So if I didn't talk to you, day 2, you get a text message, an email, and a phone call from me that says, hey, sorry I missed you yesterday. I tried to reach out to you. I would love to talk to you about X, Y, and Z. And that continues, right? Those continue until we talk, right? But the text messages, the emails, they slow down a little bit after the first 3 days.
So you do 3 days of hell, so
Yep.
call, text, email, call, text. email,
Absolutely. And what I find is if they haven't answered me by that third phone call, text message, email, then they're probably really not in the market. So then they go into that driftwood category, right? So now I'm still following up with them, but now I have to be a little more proactive. Questions, concerns?
So if you get a call on day 2 or 3,
Yes.
you usually go back and stop the,
It automatically stops. If you respond, well, not a phone call, but if you respond to this with a text message or an email, right, it will automatically drop it. If I'm talking to them, if I'm physically talking to them, I'm pulling up their thing on here and I'm taking them off the smart plan, right? And then I will add them to a more relevant smart plan.
Are you calling them at the same times of the day or are you doing different times?
So for me, I have 2 times a day, based on my calendar when I do my lead generation. I'm a little atypical. Most people do it in the morning. I don't like to call people before 10 o'clock. That's me. Some people like to start at 8. I'm sorry if you call me at 8 o'clock, you're probably not gonna get a nice guy from me.
Me neither.
Especially if you're asking for things, right? So I try to call at 10 o'clock, and I usually book between 10 to 12 for my call. And then in the evening, right, like 5 to 7 or 4 to 6. It just depends on the client and on the feel. If I don't talk to you the first time at, between 10 and 12, I'll probably try to reach out to you later on that afternoon.
I do a very similar thing, and I thought I was weird, but I'm glad that we're weird together.
No, it's just, I think about, me personally, I think about where I am in life and where I'm at those specific times.
Yeah.
So between 10 and 12, if you're not working, you're probably sitting around watching TV, or maybe, you're driving in the car, so that's a perfect time for me to reach out to you. Right? And what's really cool about all of these smart plans and these follow-ups, right? So there's my newsletters for each one. And I have those tagged. So if you're shopping in Kent County, that tag goes into your profile, you automatically get subscribed to my newsletter, right? If you're a buyer, you automatically get subscribed to my Market Watch.
We have
Okay.
about 5 minutes left.
Holy crap,
I
really?
know, I can't believe it either. I just
Yeah.
love.
Do like a part 2.
Yeah.
Do you wanna do like a seller focused one, like maybe next week? Does that make sense for everybody?
Yeah. I'm all.
I don't wanna try to jam it in 5 minutes, cause I don't think it's gonna.
So, you're doing call that's email.
Yeah.
And you would say, day 4 to 7 email. And
So
then-
what I do is I still set it up, call, text, email. So day 4, you're gonna get a call from me, right? Or maybe a text message from me, I don't know. I'll be honest with you, I agree, because that's smart plan alone. But I think it's text, email, text, email, text, email, right? I recommend phone call, next day text, next day email. Phone call, next day text.
Okay, so you're like rotating through.
Right, yeah, for sure.
And then, at what point are you just like gonna put somebody on the drip if they haven't answered or got back to you?
Honestly, that's up to you.
That's what I would do.
Me personally, I like 7 days. So 3 days of hell, 3 days of hell, and then call, text, email, and then you hit that last one.
No matter what day it is, say the lead comes in on a Thursday, you're calling Saturday and Sunday.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just remember that. Once they hit that 7-day threshold, you want to assign them to relevant touch smart plan, right? Relevant value touch.
So that could be like the first step, is setting up a couple of different avenues that people don't answer. Obviously, we want them to answer, but you need to have them go somewhere. You can't just like not talk to somebody for 7 days and then take 14 days to make a smart plan for that person, and then now all of a sudden you're kind of back to square one. You know what I mean? You lost all that ground because you haven't talked to them or reached out in 2 weeks.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you need to like know where they're going. So you would recommend doing that step 1.
Yeah. So my advice to you is when you build your smart plan, when you build your drip campaign, is to have them very specific for very specific goals, right? So I have a new buyer onboarding, which is after that initial touch, right? After that initial call. I know we're pushing into the time. So, internet lead comes in, they hit that smart plan, right? The next thing I do is new buyer onboarding. Yeah, we went kind of deep in the paint there. So,
I'm just gonna grab my screen.
so, new buyer onboarding, that has all that relevant stuff of this is what to expect from us, this is how we do business, right? This is what you can expect day 1, day 2, day 12, right? So be intentional about what you're building and why you're building it. What is your goal, right? Is your goal just to get them to call you back? Is your goal to get them to stay on? Is your goal just to provide them value and touch? Because you're gonna call them, right? Maybe you don't call them for 2 weeks. Maybe they're still getting those emails, those relevant emails. You can see when they're opening it. If you use your tracker, right, you can see when they're opening your text messages, your emails. And if you see that they're not opening those text messages or emails, it's okay. It means maybe you do need to call them more often, right? But these are, like I said, you want to be like Nike. You want to be like Tory Burch, right? You want to be in their brain, and that's what that's designed for. But what these smart plans don't take away from though is the actual phone calls, appointment activities. These are just designed to take care of some of the lifting for you, so that when you do make that phone call, like when I call somebody that's on my buyer smart plan that has that market, that newsletter and all that, right? They're not a cold call to me. I can call and say, hey Caroline, did you see my newsletter that I sent out? Man, I just went to Jessup's yesterday and I had the greatest beer on tap. It was amazing. Or, it was so nice outside. After we got done eating, we took a walk down through the park right back behind the tavern, right? And that gives you an opportunity to have a phone call. It's not cold. But if it is, and they say, no, I didn't get a chance. Hey, I just wanted to remind you that there was this really cool place I just went to called Jessup's. The address is in my newsletter. Check it out. It's in your email. Oh, I missed that. I'm going to have to go back and look at it. And then you have another opportunity for a touch, for a call, right? And that's the idea of the smart plans, but it doesn't eliminate the building the relationship through phone calls and scripts, which is part 2. Yeah. But I will share those smart plans out. I'll share a few of those smart plans out so you can see them and kind of adapt. If you have any questions, obviously I'm the tech guy here. I'm in the office most days.
What's your email group? People send out PW?
Yeah. Yeah, you guys can just either give me a call, shoot me a text message, shoot me an email if you want to schedule time to sit down and actually build this out like step by step. Those tickets. And then, yeah, cool. So, my favorite catchline, questions, concerns, guys. Feedback. Yeah, what do you think?
That was great.
That's right. Yeah, cool.
No, okay.
My only concern is like a lot of these are like based off of assuming that we're getting these people on the phone, and that's not the case. A lot of the times when these leads come in, you have a quick conversation and then it kind of just fizzles out. Maybe it's because the information that I'm putting out there isn't good enough to be engaging. Maybe that's where I need to tweak my thing.
Maybe.
But a lot of my stuff is I try to do these things and try to reach out, and sometimes it's informational, sometimes it's just like like you said, a one sentence thing, like, hey, just wanted to check in real quick, anything that I can do to help kind of thing. But you don't get a lot of feedback. So like my problem, I've been trying to make smart plans and do this, but
So, I just want to show you something.
I'm having difficulty frameworking them because it's
Well-
like, I haven't heard from you in 46,000 days. You're doing well.
Well,
You still got a dog, like.
let me just show you something really fast. Just so you don't feel,
Like maybe I'm a little hard on myself.
I think you are, man.
Definitely.
Because I want to show you something.
That's good. That makes you care.
Okay. This is my personal database. I have 586 people. Do you think I talk to them every day?
Absolutely.
Absolutely not. Do you think they all open up my emails and my text messages, right? But they're still here and they're still getting this information. Stop being hard on yourself because you may have 10, 15, 100 people in there and they're just not ready yet,
Right.
right? So what we do is we set follow-up plans. We make the calls. If they don't go through, we leave our voicemails, right? And you keep pushing. Every day, you push. If you have a new client come in, you handle your new client, right? And as you continue to push forward and engage with what's in front of you, the things that you're setting up behind you with those follow-up plans and things like that are gonna bring those clients to you. It's just a time game. It's a waiting game, man, right?
Like you're always playing with numbers. And I think like there's some businesses that sell ISAs or sell people that follow up for you. And a really good business would be out of the 400 people in a database, one converting every month. So like if you think about that percentage wise, like that kind of puts it in perspective that that's successful. You're not gonna land every single person. Most lead services are selling you at like 5% conversion, if that.
Let's go this route. How many internet leads do you get? 6, okay, 6. So if the average person converting on an internet lead is 2%, how many leads should you be converting a month?
0.0.
Right, right. So just take that into consideration. If you're converting at 5%, you are an absolute hawk. You are a monster at converting those internet leads, right? So just quit being hard on yourself. Be intentional, right? And set your tone, set your voice. Who do you want to be known for? Who do you want to be known as, right? Are you the cool guy who gives cool recommendations for cool things to do in the area, right?
I have to step into an agent. I have to end this properly or else we'll lose our entire report.
You know, who do you want to be? What do you want to be known for? And ride that wave.